music in our community owe their thanks to their teachers, their gurus. We now move on to an important segment of the evening of honoring our beloved teachers. Sarigama Padani is deeply honored to facilitate teachers from our community, and we thank them for accepting our invitation to be with us this evening. We invite our chief guest and gurus to please come onto the stage.
We now request Smt.Maragatham to introduce Smt.Maragatham Ramaswamy. We now request our chief guest to come.
Good evening. It's wonderful to see the hall full of audience, and hope you're all enjoying the program thus far. I'm Gopi Santanam, and I have the pleasure and privilege of welcoming the chief guest of the evening, Sri Kanniks Kannikeswaran. Kanniks Kannikeswaran is an award-winning visionary composer, music educator, and scholar whose musical productions and much acclaimed choral renditions have been performed in many cities around the globe. He is the recipient of several awards such as McKnight Fellowship, the Ohio Heritage Fellowship, the Just Community Award, and more. Kanniks is a pioneer of the Indian American choral movement. His far-reaching work in this area has led to the founding of Indian community choirs in several cities in the Midwest, South, and up North. His work spread to Europe in 2013, where the first ever Surinamese Hindustani choir, founded under his leadership, performed his work, Sharat, at The Hague in the Netherlands. Kanniks was recently featured on the National Public Radio. His magnum opus, Shanti, A Journey of Peace, a contemporary oratorio, recently completed its 10th anniversary in Cincinnati, featuring mixed choruses, Western and Indian instrumental ensembles, dancers, and more. Shanti has touched the lives of over 1,000 performers over the last 10 years, not attendees, performers. Kanniks' musical capabilities have led him to collaborate with renowned artists such as Lakshmi Shankar, Mallika Sarabhai, the Cincinnati Chamber Orchestra, and the Cincinnati Pops. His work has also been performed by large ensembles at the National University of Singapore. Kanniks completed his doctoral work on the music of Muthuswami Dikshidhar at the Department of Indian Music, University of Madras. In this connection, he received the Best Paper Award at the Music Academy on the Nataswara Sahityas of Dikshidhar in 2007. And Kanniks regularly presents lecture demonstrations during the music season, particularly at the Music Academy. He has been teaching Indian music at the College Conservatory of Music, University of Cincinnati, as an adjunct faculty since 1994. His award-winning research on the 18th century Indo-colonial music of India is beginning to have an impact on the Indian musical pedagogy. Kanniks has been described as a Renaissance personality who effortlessly traverses diverse disciplines such as music, spirituality, and management. Kanniks is a powerful speaker and has lectured extensively on Indian culture and music all over the United States and in many other parts of the world. He is the founder of the American School of Indian Art, an institution committed to bringing the best of the East and the West to the Indian American diaspora and beyond. On a personal note, I've known Kanniks for over 20 years. I lived in Cincinnati for a good portion of that time. 10 years ago, Sandhya and I had the privilege of playing a part in Kanniks' magnum opus maiden production of the Shanti program. It was a monumental effort on the part of Kanniks, especially considering the fact that many of the performers from the Indian community had very little formal education in music, and it was due to Kanniks' singular focus, incredible mentorship, and perseverance that they made us musicians out of nothing, and the culmination of a one-year effort of training resulted in us performing to about an audience of 750 odd people, back-to-back programs at the University of Cincinnati, and the audience reception was simply overwhelming. And that whole experience, looking back, I will keep it with me for the rest of my life, and I owe it entirely to Kanniks. And the idea here was to point out how great a musical personality Kanniks is, and how much he has touched the lives of the people interested in music in the Cincinnati area, not just the Indian community, but also the local populations. So with those few words, I'm sure all of you would love to hear Kanniks speak more about his perspective on music than me introducing Kanniks. We welcome Kanniks today, and we are so pleased to have you preside over this function.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here. Just a couple of weeks back, Gopi and Sandhya called me and asked me if I would be able to make it here. And I'm really honored to be invited, and thank you so much for being here and giving me a chance to share some of my thoughts with you. The first thought I want to share is I came to this country in 1984. I'm sure a good many of us came here in the 80s. Went to grad school. We ran into families with children here. We could not relate to those children at that point in time. What did we call them? ABCDs. At that point, ABCD stood for American Born Confused Desis. Okay? But today, when you saw these children perform on stage, and when you saw them discussing various aspects of Carnatic music, you still use the word ABCD, except the acronym ABCD stood for American Born Cultured Desis. So, hats off to all of you children who performed here. I myself have two daughters, and we know it is quite a challenge getting our children exposed to Indian culture. And it's a conscious choice that we do to get our children exposed to Indian culture. See, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with with somebody being raised here with an exposure to a culture of their choice, because America is, after all, a melting point. But when we make a conscious choice to give Indian culture to our children, and when they make a conscious choice to learn more about Indian culture, they transform into different human beings, where they continue to share what they have learned from their parents and from their culture with the rest of the world for generations beyond, if it is a conscious choice that they make. Okay? So that's the thing about ABCDs. And I hurriedly took down a few notes while the children were speaking and performing on my iPhone, and if the battery lasts, I will be able to see a little more. Okay. I first wanted to acknowledge the teachers sitting here on stage. I know two of them. I first ran into Usha Char back in Columbus during the time that she was there, and after she left for DC, people still referred to her with reverence and used to invite her back for the Columbus Tyagaraja Utsavam on a very, very regular basis. And I was the recipient of much hospitality from Maragatham Mami last year, when we tried to get together the first ever Indian choir to sing a tarana on Capitol Hill last year. So sometime in June last year, I was invited by the Hindu American Foundation to present a choral performance during the 10th anniversary in Capitol Hill. So last June we put together a performance, and we rehearsed from May, and Smt.Maragatham Ramaswamy really helped us out with getting singers, and she personally helped us with the program. I'm very grateful to all of you. And more than that, I know some of your students who hold you in the highest regard, with the highest respect, not only from the standpoint of a teacher, a guru, but also from a very fine human being and a great well-wisher and the provider of much blessings. So thank you all for providing this. So at this point, I take this opportunity to acknowledge all the gurus on stage. I would like to get to know all of you even more. And thank you so much for creating this wonderful space here in the DC area where the children are motivated to perform and also to discuss and learn more about music. And speaking about which, let me, I live in a small place called Cincinnati. Some of you may know the place, some of you are actually from there. But when I come here, I'm very inspired by the fact that there's so much going on here. The very fact that there is a forum to discuss Carnatic music, to get together, talk about music, learn more about it, and to actually put in 5 years of sustained effort and celebrate the 5th anniversary. It's not a joke. Okay? So hats off to Sri.Subash Vinjamuri for actually getting this going. Okay. Now, one of the questions that was raised in the discussion by children was, what does Carnatic music offer? I just want a couple of responses from the audience. Can any adult respond? What does Carnatic music offer that is very unique? Children? Anyone? Yeah. So there are 2 points that the children brought out. One is that it offers a connection to the past. And I would like to add an extension to that by offering a connection to the past, it offers a chance to the young Indian Americans here of the next generation to forge a cultural identity and make it a part of a much bigger melting pot in the generations to come. Okay. So that is one thing that Carnatic music offers each of you very, very uniquely. And again, there's ultimate scope for innovation within boundaries within the scope of Carnatic music, which you will get to explore. And I'm going to talk about innovation in Carnatic music, or innovation in the world of Carnatic music composers in just a minute. Okay. And the other thing that Carnatic music offers is a very sound pedagogy. The teaching techniques in Carnatic music are very unique. Okay. For somebody that's been through the grooming for a 5-year period, they develop a very strong sense of what is called relative pitch. Not perfect pitch, but relative pitch. So, which is what we refer to as Swarajnanam in Carnatic music. So the idea that you listen to a melody that's being played by a violin or a viola, and you don't hear the melody, but you actually hear the sarigama swaras, the sargam swaras in your head. How many of you can relate to that? Okay, the young performers on stage, were you able to do that? Like if you were do you listen to Mozart's 40th as da ba pa ga ga sa sa ni da pa ma ri ri sa ni da ba ma ga. Okay, so that's what happens to you when you're grounded in Carnatic music. You don't hear anything else but the sargam. Okay, but if you are a person that's rooted in Western music, you actually perceive what's called, and depends on what you're born with, you get what's called perfect pitch, where you can distinguish an A from a C when you listen to a pitch. Okay. In Carnatic music we develop a very strong sense of relative pitch, or a moving do, or a moving sa, because your sa can be relative. Okay. And again, the teaching techniques are very sound. Your layam becomes very sound, so you deal with very complex rhythmic features, and when you begin to compose music, you have a very sound control over rhythm, and you can bring in any kind of two time signatures playing against each other without any kind of difficulty, and your perception is very strong. Okay, so apart from these, Carnatic music offers you a way to connect with India in a way that you cannot connect otherwise, and I'll explain just how. First of all, the division, Carnatic music and Hindustani music, is not a very ancient one. Okay, all of Indian music deals with the idea of ragas. Okay, the idea of raga is very unique to India. You don't see ragas in other parts of the world, and the raga system is very unique to India, and it's common to both Hindustani music and Carnatic music, so much so that we should refer to the art music tradition of India as raga vidya, knowledge of ragas basically. Okay. Now, if you draw an imaginary line that cuts through the map of India, particularly through the northern part of Karnataka, if you travel by train from Kanyakumari to Kashmir, south of this line, you will hear the chant, coffee, 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 okay? And north of the line, you hear the chant, chai, 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 okay? So the chai region is the Hindustani music region, and the coffee region is the Carnatic music region, okay? And both systems are based on the idea of raga and tala. the idea of the concept, the mode of delivery is very different. The kind of gamakams you use and the kind of compositional forms you deal with in South India are different from the compositional forms you deal with in North India. The kind of ornamentation that you do, the kind of tans that you do in North India are very different from the gamakams and that you use in South India. So it's only the mode of delivery that it becomes different. Regardless of the musical form that you learn, whether it's Carnatic music or Hindustani music, you touch India in a very special way, and you carry a slice of India with you and you give it to your children as they grow. And at the age of 16, or between the age of 10 and 19, the last thing you have in your mind is your future generation. Because when I go back to the time when I was 12, I could not imagine having a 12-year-old, okay? Or when I go back to the time when I was like 18 or 19, my daughter is 19 and she's a music major studying music education and music history. Mommy knows her pretty well. She had come last year. Now she's a sophomore studying music education on how to teach music, and hopefully she will incorporate those techniques in teaching Indian music as well at some point in time. Okay, so the last thing you have in your mind is your children, but believe me, time will fly very fast. And you will be very proud of the fact that you were able to carry a slice of India with you, and the fact that you were able to carry it with you and give it to the next generation, which is going to be an increasingly great part of the growing American multicultural fabric and a melting point, if you may. Okay, now narrowing down to the Kriti form of Carnatic music. In my mind, it is important to touch, move, and inspire anybody that listens to you. As a performer, your performance becomes very special if, through your music, you're able to touch, move, and inspire anybody that's listening to your music. And how do you touch and move and inspire them? Just by singing a kriti. A kriti is a composition. A kriti has a theme. It has lyrics. The lyrics have meaning. The lyrics are to be pronounced a certain way. Much importance needs to be given to the lyrics. Much importance needs to be given to the meaning and to the context in which the kriti was composed. My favorite composer is Muthuswami Dikshitar, and he's the subject of my doctoral work and many other presentations that I've shared with audiences in many different places. And one thing about Muthuswami Dikshitar is that his compositions connect us to the temples of India in a very powerful way. I learned this composition called Shankaram Abhirami Manoharam. Do many of you know this composition? Shankaram Abhirami Manoharam, Raga Kamala Manohari. Okay. I learned this as a 9-year-old or a 10-year-old, like somewhere in the early 70s. And when I learned this composition, my teacher told me that this is a song that you should sing on a regular basis, and if you sing it on a regular basis, you will have good health. That's all she said. And that was it. And then I forgot about that. We used to sing that song in class regularly. And later on, the song kind of slipped the realm of consciousness. It was just in the background. And then in 1993, we went on a tour of temples in South India. Again, if I get started on temples, I'll never stop. Because if you want to look at some of the work that I've done on the temples of India, please go to www.templenet.com. It'll give you an idea of the temple wealth that we have in India and what it stands for. A temple is not just a mere place of worship, it's a cultural center. It is a center where much has happened over the last 2,000 years. And there's much to learn from each of these centers. So, we went on a temple tour in 1993, and my parents took me to a place called Thirukkadavur. Now, Thirukkadavur, as we went there, we saw an elephant. The elephant came and garlanded, behind the elephant was an old couple wearing garlands. I was wondering what was going on. They said they are celebrating the 60th birthday of this couple. And behind them was another elephant, maybe not another elephant, but another older couple. They were in their 80s. I asked, what are they doing here? They are celebrating their Shatabhishekam, which means they're celebrating their 80th birthday. So I said, what's special about celebrating your 60th and your 80th birthdays in this place? And nobody had an answer. Then I went into the temple, and it was hot. We were hungry. I just shared the story with Gopi this morning. It was hot, and we were all hungry, and I was just anxious to finish the trip and get out of there and go to Mayavaram and have a good lunch. So we entered the temple, and it was crowded. And then we went to the main shrine of Shiva, where I saw the board, Amrita Ghateshwara. So Amrita Ghateshwara. Immediately there was a flashback. Shashidharam Amrita Ghateshwaram भजेऽहं शङ्खाभिषेकगात्रं सच्चिदानन्दमात्रं शङ्करम् अभिरामि मनोहरम्. That was a flashback. This is a song that I had learned from my teacher when I was young. This was a song that was, with which my teacher mentioned that I had to sing on a regular basis to stay healthy. What is the connection between health and this song? Amrita Ghateshwara. Who was Amrita Ghateshwara? So all these questions hit my mind as I walked in. But then the Pallavi of the song came back again. Then I remembered that my mom had said that we were going to the Abhirami temple in Tirukadavur. So Abhirami Manoharam. So Amrita Ghateshwara is the consort of Abhirami who is enshrined in this temple. Oh ho, the song is actually telling me a story. Okay, then the second stanza came to my mind. Pankajasanadi pujitabja padam. Next line is the killer. Bhakta Markandeya Ayush Pradam. Bhakta Markandeya Ayush Pradam. Okay, everything was in place now. So this is a place where it's one of the Ashtavirata Talangal where Shiva is the Sthalapurana of the place is that Shiva vanquished time. He stopped the passage of time. Okay, which the whole Kala Tita, Kalantaka, Antaka. That is what Shiva is here. So he stopped Markandeya from dying. So he fixed Markandeya in the next eternal state where his time didn't change at all. He didn't grow older by a microsecond. He stopped time basically. So he vanquished Yama, the god of time. So Bhakta Markandeya Ayush Pradam. Okay, so everything was coming together. Okay, that's when I realized that the song was telling the story of this particular temple. And the next line is Bhayankara Ghora Rupadara. Yama who came with the Yama. So, Bhayankara Ghora Rupadara Yama. So Yama with the Bhayankara Ghora Rupa. Nigraha Anugraham Yama Nigraha Anugraham. So that's what Shiva did by stopping Yama in his track and protecting Markandeya. So there's so much of stories, so much of mythology, so much of wealth regarding temple traditions contained in this song. So if you get a feeling of, if you get an idea of what the composer is trying to communicate, the context in which he created the song, and furthermore, if you went to the place where this composition was created and actually performed the song there, you will become a different person. Okay? So my suggestion to all musicians is to learn the context of every single composition that you learn. Learn the context of every single phrase that is used in the composition. Try to put yourself in the shoes of the composer when he created the song, and actually try to recreate it in every performance of yours. Your performances will never be the same. Okay, so this is what I wanted to share with you, and thank you so much. I think as the next generation, we have much to offer our friends and other people growing up with us in this country, particularly in a place like Washington DC, where you're in the midst of everything that's going on, unlike a place like Cincinnati. So share your heritage with your friends, share the temple wealth of India, share the musical wealth of India, and do not feel that Carnatic music is in a cocoon by itself, because it actually puts you in touch with Indian cultural heritage in a very powerful way. It makes you connect to the past. It makes you get anchored in a tradition that is several centuries old that you belong to. It gives you an opportunity to powerfully speak coming from a place of great spiritual heritage and great artistic heritage. And you can knowingly speak about it to your friends and others, and very proudly share this culture. And even if you don't get a chance to go to India in the next couple of years, go upstairs. You have Ramaswamy. Sing Ramanatham Bhaje Hamde. Or go to the Ayyappa shrine and sing Hariharaputtam. Okay, and there's countless songs by Swati Tirunal on Padmanabha. And last December, I gave a presentation on the Dhrupads of Swati Tirunal, which are actually North Indian compositions of Swati Tirunal in Hindi, in the slow-moving Dhrupad compositional style. Learn any composition of Swati Tirunal and go and sing in front of the deity shrine upstairs. Try to get the meaning of every single word from your teacher, and try to articulate every single word the way it is to be articulated. And this place itself will begin to glow with a new light once you start doing it. Thank you very much.
We now request Ramani uncle to honor our chief guest.
Presented to Sri Kannikeswaran for promoting awareness. Presented to Sri Kannikeswaran for promoting awareness of Indian arts across cultures and continents. SRGMPDN, Carnatic Music Forum, Washington DC, Metro 2014.
I now ask Shiva uncle to come and introduce our teachers.
Good afternoon. My name is Shiva Kumar. It is my great pleasure and honor to introduce our first honorary teacher today, Smt.Maragatham Ramaswamy. Of course, Mrs. Ramaswamy does not need any introduction in the Washington area. Maragatham Ramaswamy is the founder director of the Ragamalika School of Music, which she started in 1987, right after she moved to the United States. Mrs. Ramaswamy is a vocalist and a violinist. She was formally educated and trained as a vocalist and violinist before she joined Madras College of Music, where she got the title and the degree Sangeeta Vidwan, and she got a gold medal for outstanding achievement. She started training as a violinist under Sri Trivandrum Harihara Iyer at an early age. Later, she honed her violin skills from maestros Lalgudi Jayaraman, T.N. Krishnan, and M.S. Anantaraman. As a vocalist, she trained under the renowned Tanjore S. Kalyanaraman, and she has also learned from giants like Balghat K.V. Narayan Swamy, T.M. Tyagarajan, and Ramnath Krishnan. She won several awards from prestigious institutions such as Music Academy, Madras, and Krishnagana Sabha, and started teaching in the 70s in Chennai. And some of her awards that she has won recently include Sangeeta Acharya Ratna by Kanchi Kamakoti Mann, and the Best Teacher Award from Cleveland Tyagaraja Arajana this year. And she has also been honored by other institutions like Shivan Fine Arts Academy and Tamil Central Radio. And the Hindu newspaper, which has a music section every Friday, has featured her just this Friday. So check out the link. In addition to Indian audiences, Mrs. Ramaswamy has been very active in the DC area, serving as an artist, director, as a teacher, and a music consultant for public stage performances to American audiences. She was a music consultant for Terence McNally's A Perfect Ganesh, performed at the Arena stage in Washington, DC. She has performed at several venues in Washington, DC metro area, such as Asian Pacific American Heritage Month, the Arthur Sackler Gallery at the Smithsonian, Festival of American Folk Life, and Tacoma Park festivals. And in the last 27 years, she has trained several vocal and violin students in this area, and she has developed a reputation for being a very demanding yet a very compassionate teacher. On a personal note, I'm very proud to say that I learned from her even before she moved to the United States, way back in Madras, and her mother told me that I was her first male student. And course, all my three children, they have learned from her. Great pleasure to say a few words about my guru, Mrs. Ramaswamy. Now, I would like to request Sri Kannikeswaran to honor Smt.Maragatham Ramaswamy. Presented to Smt.Maragatham Ramaswamy in grateful appreciation for your distinguished service teaching Carnatic music. SRGMPDN, Carnatic Music Forum, Washington DC Metro, 2014.
I'd now like to call Raghu Uncle to introduce Sri.Subash Vinjamuri.
Subash Vinjamuri needs no introduction around here. None of them need introduction here, but when I talk about Subash, then I say doesn't need introduction. So other people also can say they don't need introduction. So
You're my friend, don't talk too much.
so Sri.Subash Vinjamuri started playing on the violin at the age of 6, and since then have been giving programs, solo as well as accompanied. So not many people can claim that they have played for artists from Pakistan and Afghanistan. So he has done that, and then he has got some gold medals from Indo-Russian exchange music programs and all that. He's done his engineering from Mysore, and then he has got a lot of prizes from there as well. He learned from his father, Sri Iyengar, and then later on from Vinjamuri Varadaraja Iyengar, the legendary Vidwan. And also later on, he formally learned from his guru, Sri Madala Brahmanandam Naidu Garu. That's from the famous Dwaram School of Music. Incidentally, I also learned from the Dwaram School of Music. And his son continues the torch, the torch bearer of that school again. So thanks very much for honoring, coming here and then honoring us. I now request the chief guest to honor Sri.Subash. Presented to Sri.Subash Vinjamuri in grateful appreciation for your distinguished service teaching Carnatic music, SRGMPDN, Carnatic Music Forum, Washington DC Metro, 2014.
I'd now like to call Geeta Aunty to introduce Smt.Usha Char.
Good evening, everyone. Today it's my distinct pleasure to introduce my guru, Smt.Usha Char. Smt.Usha Char is the founder and director of Nadopasana, School of Indian Classical Music. Currently, a number of students are fortunate to be under her tutelage. Many of them are concert caliber artists, performing regularly both in the USA and India. Smt.Usha Char is the artistic director of Nada Tarangini, a non-profit association dedicated to the propagation of Indian classical music in the USA. Nada Tarangini has been a regular fixture at SSVT in organizing the Purandaradasa and Tyagaraja Music Festival since 1988. Smt.Usha Char is an A-grade artist at the All India Radio. She has given solo concerts at various venues throughout India and USA. Her creativity extends beyond her singing and teaching. She has composed music for several musical presentations, dance dramas and plays. She has released professional recordings including Navaratna Madika, Vinayaka Vandanam, Devi Darshanam, Vachanamrita Dhare, Sundarakanda, and the list goes on. She has composed music for Shantala, a musical dance drama, Ekalavya, a Sanskrit and English play, and a number of individual compositions. She has received several awards, including the Best Teacher Award from Cleveland Aradhana Committee, Individual Artist and Composer Awards from Ohio State Arts Council, Maryland State Arts Council, Montgomery County Arts Council, and other reputable organizations in the USA and India. On this 5th anniversary celebration of SRGMPDN, it's our pleasure to honor Smt.Usha Char. I would request presented to Smt.Usha Char in grateful appreciation for your distinguished service teaching Carnatic music, SRGMPDN, Carnatic Music Forum, Washington DC Metro 2014.
Thank you very much to all of our teachers and to our chief guest. We will now move on to the next segment of our evening, which is a panel discussion.